Hello and welcome to Planet Pulse on Firstpost. The Earth is constantly changing, and in recent years, for the worse. Summers are getting hotter and winters harsher. Rising sea levels, floods, drought, wildfires, and torrential rain have been disrupting lives across continents. The fight against climate change is needed now more than ever. On this show, we bring you all the top stories on the climate crisis, its causes, its brutal effects, and the warriors helping to fight the menace. Brazil is on the brink of an environmental crisis. A new bill, called the Devastation Bill by critics, has been passed by Congress, threatening to undo over 4 decades of hard-won environmental protections. From self-licensing for mining and agriculture to ignoring untitled Indigenous lands, the law opens the floodgates to unchecked exploitation. As the country prepares to host the COP30, all eyes are on President Lula. Will he veto the bill or allow it to become law? The decision could shape Brazil's future. More in our next report.
Brazil is facing a major environmental crisis after lawmakers passed a controversial bill that weakens decades of protections. Dubbed the Devastation Bill by activists, it marks what many are calling the country's most serious environmental setback in over 40 years. In fact, the bill now sits on President Lula da Silva's desk, and he has just 15 working days to decide. Approve it, veto it in part, or reject it completely. At the heart of the bill is a new system called self-licensing. It allows companies to approve their own projects by filling out an online form. Critics warn that this opens the floodgates for deforestation, pollution, and unsafe development. Former chief of the Brazilian Institute of Environment and Renewable Natural Resources says about 90% of all projects, including mining and agribusiness, could now bypass proper checks.
We're seeing the implosion of Brazil's environmental licensing system that is going to become full self-licensing, where a company just clicks a button and the permit gets printed. Either way, its approval is a tragedy. There's no precedent for how damaging this law is.
But perhaps most alarming is the bill's treatment of the Indigenous and the quilombola communities. It limits environmental review to officially titled lands, excluding over 30% of Indigenous territories and 80% of quilombola areas that are still waiting for legal recognition. Supporters of the bill argue that it will cut red tape, attract investment, and boost development. We are reducing bureaucracy and opening doors for growth, says agribusiness leader Pedro Lupian. But across Brazil, resistance is rising. Civil society groups, scientists, lawyers, and artists, even pop star Anitta, are urging Lula to veto the bill. And yet, the president has remained largely silent. He has just 15 working days to make a choice: stand with science and indigenous voices, or side with the bulldozers. Even if he vetoes the bill, a conservative Congress may overturn him. And after that, the battle will likely move to Brazil's Supreme Court. One pen, one decision, one precedent. And the fate of Brazil's forests and its global credibility hangs in the balance.
A startup in the East African nation of Kenya is working to trap carbon dioxide gas directly from the air and store it. It has plans to inject the gas and store it underground. If successful, Kenya will become the second country after Iceland to do this. But is this initiative aimed at reducing the carbon footprint or merely greenwashing? Our next report gives you the answers.
The air we breathe has various harmful greenhouse gases. According to scientists, carbon dioxide is the most concerning. It is recognized as the biggest driver of climate change as it accelerates global warming. And unlike some other greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide stays in the air for a long time. We usually rely on trees to reduce the carbon content in the atmosphere. But thanks to new technology, scientists have found ways to trap carbon from the atmosphere using machines. This technology is called direct air carbon capture, or the DACC. A startup in the East African nation of Kenya is working on this initiative. In the scrublands of central Kenya, Octavia Carbon's engineers pull carbon dioxide from the air using machines that operate on geothermal steam.
So this machine that you see behind me here removes as much CO2 from the atmosphere as about 100 trees. Our more scaled up versions remove as much as 1,000 trees per year from the atmosphere. And you can already see that, like, to plant 1,000 trees, you would need about 10 hectares of land. Like this machine and like the machines like it that we build, like, have a very minimal land footprint basically, which also make it a very scalable solution in addressing climate change.
Their prototypes use chemical filters to trap carbon dioxide, which is then released and stored using heat. Each unit captures about 10 tons of carbon per year. This is roughly equivalent to the gas absorbed by 1,000 trees.
The process is basically divided into a capture phase and a release phase. In the capture phase, we pass a volume of air through the machine, facilitated by a blower and a fan at the top. And as air passes through the machine, there is a filter inside that selectively captures the CO2. We monitor the concentrations, and once the filter is saturated, we seal off the machine, create a vacuum, and then heat up the filter to facilitate the release phase.
Kenya's location along the Great Rift Valley gives the country a unique advantage for such projects. The valley is like a deep crack between two plates in the Earth's crust. It runs from Mozambique in southeastern Africa to Syria in West Asia. The valley features a variety of volcanic rock formations. These are formed when magma erupts onto the Earth's surface. It cools down rapidly and solidifies. Volcanic rock formations are suitable for storing captured carbon dioxide underground. They can mineralize the gas and permanently trap it as a solid. This geological condition makes Kenya a suitable location for Carbon Octavia's plans, as the company aims to begin injecting CO2 underground next year. If all goes well, the project will make Kenya the second country to do so after Iceland.
Our hope is to demonstrate that this this technology can actually come down the cost curve, and that it can be a lot more feasible as we build and deploy it, basically. And as we do that, I think we really hope that it will sort of create a real hope in the fight against climate change. Hope that there is a way for the world to actually, like, affordably hit net zero, and that we don't sort of have to drastically change our lives to get to that point, basically. And that hope is really, like, what we are building these machines for.
But as they say, every coin has two sides. Similarly, Octavia Carbon's project also has a flip side. The Kenyan startup sells its carbon credits to other companies. In simple terms, Carbon Octavia reduces the CO2 gas from the air and earns credits. These credits are then sold to the firms that produce carbon dioxide. Carbon credits permit them to emit a certain amount of greenhouse gases. This means Octavia Carbon first reduces the harmful gas from the air and then allows oil companies to emit it. So is the project really good for the environment or mere greenwashing? The answer is debatable, but the fact that carbon emissions increase global temperatures significantly is certain. The rising mercury is melting glaciers and ice sheets. In turn, it is increasing sea levels and causing more frequent and intense heat waves. Many of these changes are irreversible. They are already disrupting ecosystems and human societies, which is why it is important to act now, because the generations of tomorrow may not get the chance to fix the mistakes we make today.
And on to our final story now. It is about a remarkable scientific mission in Antarctica, where a team of Belgian researchers is digging deep, quite literally, into the Earth's frozen past, in a bid to better understand the planet's climate future. Glaciologists have brought back ancient ice cores that could hold atmospheric secrets dating back thousands, even millions of years. Our last report takes you inside this chilly treasure hunt for climate clues amid global warming.
In a chill laboratory tucked inside a Brussels university, scientists bundled in parkas carefully sliced through ancient Antarctic ice, with some samples potentially dating back 100,000 years. These ice cores lined with trapped air bubbles are more than frozen relics. They are atmospheric time capsules offering vital clues to how Earth's climate has evolved and what might lie ahead. A 4-member team journeyed to Antarctica last November, aiming to unearth some of the planet's oldest ice, all on a shoestring budget.
We are hopeful that we will find ice in the orders of 1 million years old, and that is really something that we don't have a lot of. So if we are able to retrieve that, we can learn a lot about the climate of the past that we haven't been able to see before. And being able to see and understand the climate of the past, we can better understand what will happen with climate change of the future, which is something that I like to work with because it's a very relevant problem of today.
Deep within the Antarctic interior lies ancient ice that survived millions of years, compressed under kilometers of newer snow. However, accessing these core samples is typically a high-stake game. A recent European Union-funded drilling mission that retrieved 1.2 million-year-old ice cost around $129 million. In contrast, the 4-member team, in collaboration with Université Libre de Bruxelles, opted for a more affordable and innovative route. Using satellite imagery and geological clues, they identified rare blue ice zone, where ancient ice rises closer to the surface. Unlike most of Antarctica, where snow continuously buries older ice deeper, blue ice zones act like frozen escalators. As glacial ice flows slowly towards the coast, it hits natural barriers. Like ridges and mountains which pushes ancient layers upwards, add fierce winds that prevent new snow from settling. And you have got windows into Earth's frozen past. Setting up camp in sub-zero conditions, the team spent weeks drilling and collecting data. By January, they returned with 15 cores stretching 60 meters in total. The samples were shipped via South Africa and arrived in Brussels this June. Now inside a cement-clad facility, the cores are being carefully cut, sent to labs in France and China for dating. Early expectations? Ice at just 10 meters depth might be 100,000 years old, a promising sign for even older layers below. One of the team members said that it is like a treasure hunt, likening their work to Indiana Jones minus the fedora.
It feels like an Indiana Jones mission. You're really trying to make your own treasure map. Beforehand, you try to pick okay, we think these areas are interesting. Then you actually go there, you do the measurements, and then using those measurements, we're going to try to make the best or to pick the best spots for drilling for old ice. And it's all just very, it feels like a treasure hunt. And hopefully we do find the old ice that we are looking for.
Paleoclimatologists rely on ancient ice to reconstruct Earth's past atmosphere, particularly carbon dioxide levels across geological epochs. Today's climate is rapidly inching towards conditions last seen 2 to 3 million years ago. Yet, data on greenhouse gas concentrations from that era remains scarce.
Antarctic ice is really special because in that ice you have really little tiny air bubbles. And if you can extract these air bubbles, you're really looking at the atmosphere from a very long time ago. And one of the things that, for instance, we want to understand is trying to link past temperatures to past concentrations in CO2, because that is also something we can use towards the future to understand how temperatures may evolve if CO2 concentrations will be going up.
And as the world barrels towards uncertain climate thresholds, these icy fragments from the deep past could become crucial guides for the road ahead. Silent, frozen witnesses helping scientists decode a planet's future.
And that's it on Planet Pulse for today. We will see you again at the same time next week. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
$36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakarjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Kali radikali.
Japanese,
4 兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select the language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.